So this is the fuse that was in there when it became very evident that the relay bank arm wasn't activating, and this is next to the 115 volt coil, the solenoid coil that pulls that arm in, and it's evident that this was blown, but it said what it seemed to be 3/4 amps. So I'm thinking, oh, 3 to 4 amps. I have to say that my brain wasn't working very well because I've had the flu. Otherwise I would have realised that 3/4 was American for 0.75, 3/4. So anyway, I looked around and I found a 1 amp fuse, and I thought, oh, well, that's fine because it's less, and if there's a problem it'll just blow quicker. And of course it was actually slightly more, that when I put the 1 amp fuse in, everything I think seemed to work. And then the next day, same problem. But I looked at the new fuse, it was okay. However, when I checked continuity on the 115 volt coil, there was no continuity. So what I'm planning to do is take the coil off. So that's that fuse holder, and as you can see, the paper label says quite clearly 0.75 amp, but I didn't notice that when I took the fuse out. As I say, my brain wasn't working very well that day, and it looks like SL under there. It's covered up, but I think that's slow blow. And it's got the 1 amp fuse in there still at the moment. That is fine, but I will change it for the proper fuse. Here's the coil in question. Junky old coil compared to, you know, normal size coils. So it's a big one, 115 volts. I think D24 1600 means, I don't know what the D means. I should, but the 24 I think is gauge 24 wire, 1600 turns, I would guess. So I need to check on that. There is a bit of history with this coil because when I was, or a year or so ago, when I was replacing the playfield after having restored it, I snagged a wire very close to the edge when you're taking the playfield up and down, and I snagged the wire, and I had to add a short piece of wire. It was too tight to resolder, so I had to add a short piece of wire. I've just unwrapped my join. Now I did put some insulation on there. I've just unwrapped that to check that it was okay, which it is. But what I'm going to do now is remove this coil and check very carefully again for continuity. It definitely seems to be open circuit. The wire that goes onto the outer part, in other words the bit that I shall start unwinding, goes to this connection, and then the other end of the wire that's where we're at the moment. I fixed up an old film winder, so we've got the spool on there which can be unwound. That's the coil, and then I've made up this cardboard spool to wind onto. The spindle diameters won't be exactly the same, so I've got to count it coming off of here to find out how many turns. To make sure I know how many turns are coming off while I'm very carefully winding onto this bobbin, I thought I might set up a little bell and a clanger so I hear ting 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 each time that turns round. Failing everything, I will clearly mark with a white tab this coil and video the whole thing as I'm turning, so if I lose track, well, at the end of it I can count the number of turns that appear on the video. That's another possibility. I shall decide shortly and you'll see the result. $40, $41, $42, $43, $44, $45, $46, $47, $48, $49, $50, 51. So we have continuity. Okay, well, it's not too neat, but that's okay for what we're doing. We got to the end of it. 1536, so it was a 1600 turn coil, a few short maybe. Thing is though, now I've got to get all of that, but neatly, back onto there without a proper coil winder. Ugh. Well, you'll find out soon what happens. One of the tags broke off and I had to replace it, but the winding started now. And as you can see, so far so good. It's early days yet. Okay, well that's what's coming off. Now, promise not to laugh. That's the best I could do, but it's going on there. I don't think the rough winding of the coil necessarily will be a problem. Anyway, what's to lose? If it works, it works. If it doesn't, I'll order one. Not much more to go now. The brass coil inner, which is a part of it, I don't think you can get that out on this one anyway. It's starting to crack slightly. And that's not in the way of the plunger at the moment, but I will order a new coil and have it on standby. That's where the coil's got to go back. Here it is. I'll put the paper on when it's in there. So it's a bit of a tight squeeze where the machine is at the moment and I can't move it, but I've set everything up, so should be able to solder that back on really easily. That's done. So the moment of truth, I've just applied power. I'll press the left flipper button. Is that coil going to pull down the reset bank? If it does, it means at least the coil's working. And then in terms of whether it all goes mad, we'll find out when we start to try to play. So, moment of truth. Here we go. Starting again now.